Every year, thousands of people move to Charleston, South Carolina for the beaches, for the laid-back lifestyle, and for the historic charm. But there is one massive mistake most people don't think about that turns their Charleston dream into daily frustration. In this video, I'm gonna break down the biggest mistakes people find when they move to Charleston, from the high costs of maintaining these beautiful historic homes to traffic nightmares you wouldn't expect. But stick around, because I'm also gonna talk about how you can sidestep these mistakes and how you can make your Charleston dream come true in a way that makes it awesome for you. The number one surprise for people moving to Charleston, it's not the beaches, it's not the history, it's our summers. And here's the thing, the Charleston summer is not your typical grab a glass of iced tea and sit on the porch summer. No, this is the kind of warm that lasts all day. The kind where you step outside and it's like a steam room has wrapped itself around you and it follows you all the way to your mailbox. On paper, our summers are usually in the mid-90s, but that's just the temperature because it feels like a totally different number. Thanks to our good friend, humidity, it can be closer to 110 degrees with the humidity. Even the nights don't give you much relief. Around 10 p.m., the thermometer still might read the upper 70s, and the air just feels thick. That means an evening stroll here feels more like a gentle sauna, and you'll be glowing. I don't mean just because you're happy. Last year, we had 47 days over 100 degrees. That's nearly 7 straight weeks of triple digits. Your AC, it's gonna work harder than it ever has before, and your power bill will go up. Now, if you live in one of Charleston's beautiful historic homes, those soaring ceilings and big windows, and it's gorgeous. But they were built before central air conditioning, so cooling them in August is going to cost you. So what do the locals do? We adapt. We become masters of the early morning. Runners are out at 6 a.m. sharp every morning in Old Village, and that's when the air feels much cooler. You're gonna take your dog for a walk in the evening, and you might bring a bottle of water. If you're a golfer, you're gonna get the first tee time, and you'll notice the fairways are often ghost towns by noon. When you move here, you will learn to embrace Charleston summer for what it is. It's an invitation to slow down. Afternoons are for porch swings and under ceiling fans. Evenings are for going to the ocean and seeing the sunset. Weekends are all about having cold drinks on Shim Creek, watching dolphins, and getting in the pool. Here's the upside. Charleston gives you one of the longest outdoor seasons in the country. While much of the country is shoveling snow, we're still paddleboarding and playing golf and enjoying the water. So even though it gets hot, it's still pretty awesome here from a weather standpoint. The next mistake people make when moving to Charleston is underestimating how much traffic we have. Charleston is a beautiful city. It's built on a peninsula, and it has the Ashley River and the Cooper River, and there's all these bridges. And the bridges are beautiful to go over, except they become traffic log jams. Now, our traffic is not like the traffic you would experience in other big cities like Atlanta or New York or Washington, D.C., or California, but the traffic is heavier than a lot of people realize. If you were to look at the number of cars that are going through Charleston on a given day, it's gonna be, maybe a quarter of what you would see in Atlanta. But we do hit some road snacks. The Ashley River Bridge carries 63,000 cars a day. And when traffic is flowing, it's easy and it's scenic. But if there's a fender bender on that bridge, things are gonna slow down a lot. There are drawbridges on Sullivan's Island and James Island, and these can pause traffic for 20 to 30 minutes when we welcome sailboats from the harbor. Now, if you're sitting in your car and you need to get somewhere, that drawbridge no longer is beautiful, it becomes a nuisance. But here's the good news. The city is building a new Ashley River walking bridge. This will add bike lanes, and it's gonna expand the highway. It's all in progress right now. The upside is that our Charleston drivers are slowly and patiently gliding through bridges and besides estuaries, and we've got these incredible views as we do our traffic, and we are not gridlocked on freeways. The third mistake we're going to talk about today is people don't know that Charleston is prone to flooding. Charleston's historic downtown is one of the most photographed places in America. We have pastel homes on Rainbow Row, century-old churches with soaring steeples, cobblestone streets, that have been here since horse-drawn carriages were the only traffic. But here's something that the postcards don't show. Every now and then, those same beautiful streets take a little swim. It's not surprising when you know the history. Much of downtown Charleston was built on reclaimed marshlands. The city's early settlers filled in tidal creeks to make more space for buildings. But those creek beds are still the lowest points in town. So when we get a really big rain, especially during a high tide, Mother Nature reminds us of who's really in charge. Locals have a saying, watch the tides like you check the weather. If it's a king tide, really extra high tide, and it rains hard, you know for certain some streets are going to be flooded, like Wentworth, Cumming, Vanderhorst. East Bay Street, I've seen cars actually floating during really bad storms, not personally, but on the news. And here's the thing, it's not like we're in Venice. This isn't every day, and it's not even every week. When flooding happens, it's usually just a few hours until the water drains. And in most parts of downtown, life carries on a block or two away like nothing even happened. The city is very serious about tackling flooding. You're going to see pump stations, upgraded drains, and elevated road projects in the works all over. The King Street pump station, for example, can move 70,000 gallons of water per minute. That's like draining an Olympic swimming pool in 13 seconds. And locals know how to work with this. Some folks just keep rain boots in their office just in case. Others wait out the high tide with a cup of coffee and chat with their neighbor. You'll see shop owners sweeping water with a laugh, waving to tourists who are equally amused. And here's the part people don't talk about. After the water recedes, the city feels like it's been cleansed. The puddles left behind become a perfect mirror for Charleston's beauty. The upside, when you live here, you're not just enduring the weather, you're participating in it. You're in tune with the tides, the storms, the sunshine, in a way that makes you feel connected to nature. The fourth mistake people make when moving to Charleston, the cost of housing. Charleston is one of those rare cities where the lifestyle has become just as famous as the scenery. We've been voted best city in the United States by Travel and Leisure more than 10 times. We're a foodie haven. We're just dripping with history, surrounded by beaches and blessed with a pace of life that blends Southern charm with coastal ease. So it's probably not a huge shock that the cost of buying a home here is higher than your average. Right now, the median home price in the Charleston County area is around $600,000. That's for a mix of historic homes, modern builds, and everything in between. If your heart is set on the historic downtown district, where there's piazza porches and magnolia trees and carriages, you're looking at about $2 million or more for a move-in ready home. And that's not even a mansion. That's just something that is Charleston charming. Even renting here in Charleston isn't cheap. A basic one-bedroom apartment can run you about $1,700 a month, and more if you're near the water or in a historic district. I hear all the time from newcomers, back home I could get a mansion or for what a starter home costs here in Charleston. And you know what? They're right. In some parts of the country, $600,000 buys you a brand new 5-bedroom home with a 3-car garage and maybe even some acreage. So why do people happily pay more to move to Charleston? It's because this place isn't about square footage. It's about what comes with that square footage. A home here has morning walks under oak trees dripping with Spanish moss. It comes with the happiest, nicest people on the planet. It comes with Saturday mornings at the farmers market in Marion Square, Sunday bike rides to the beach, and evenings where the air smells like pluff mud and jasmine and everything that is good about the South. Right now, 2025, our market is actually shifting in favor of buyers. This is the first time that I've seen it in the last decade. Inventory is up 36% compared to last year. Homes are staying on the market longer, 45 days to 60 days, and that's compared to just a week during the pandemic boom. Over a third of sellers have had to make price reductions, which was unheard of a few years ago. That means if you're thinking about buying a home in Charleston now, you've got leverage. You can negotiate, you can ask for repairs, you can take your time, and you can pick a great home because you have a lot of selection. And here's another bit of good news. If you're willing to live just a little further out, your dollar stretches a lot further. Places like Somerville, Goose Creek, Hanahan, Johns Island, these places have larger homes, more land, newer builds, and they cost a lot less. These communities are growing fast. They have new schools, restaurants, and shopping centers, and it means you don't always have to drive downtown for everything. Of course, living further out does mean you'll have more time in the car, but if you've heard about some of the other things in Charleston like traffic, you know that can be spectacular with your scenery. Don't forget, buying here isn't just about today's comfort. It's about your investment. A Charleston address has a history of holding value in ways that many markets can't promise. If you buy wisely, you're not just getting a place to live. You're building equity in one of the most desirable cities in America. So what's the upside? When you buy in Charleston, you're buying more than just walls and a roof. You're buying sunsets over the marsh, weekends on Sullivan's Island. You're buying into a lifestyle that people from all over the world dream about. The fifth mistake people make when moving to Charleston: they forget about how expensive it can be to own a historic home. If Charleston were a person, its heart would be the historic district. You walk those narrow streets and it's like the past is still living and breathing. Gas lanterns flickering at dusk, window boxes spilling over with flowers, the scent of Confederate jasmine drifting through the air. And the homes? They aren't just houses, they're living artifacts. Tall, narrow Charleston singles with wide side piazzas designed to catch the breeze. Shuttered windows, wrought iron gates, hand-carved woodwork. It's all been touched and admired by generations. Owning one of these homes is like being handed a piece of history and told, it's your turn to take care of this. And that's an honor, but it's also a commitment. To be honest, maintaining a historic home isn't like owning a 10-year-old brick ranch in the suburbs. Cosmetic updates might be $50 to $60 a square foot. If you need structural work like repairing a foundation, it can run you $190 a square foot or more. And if you're doing a full restoration, it might be close to $500 a square foot. I've seen it firsthand. There was an 1850s Charleston single on Todd Street that needed $289,000 to fix the foundation and straighten the building. An 1840s home on Ashley Ave that had a $380,000 repair bill for a total gut job. And that was before the owners even touched the kitchen. So why is it so expensive? Because you can't just call up a random contractor and say, can you fix this? These homes require craftsmen, people who know how to work with hand-forged nails, lime mortar, and antique heart pine. It's a specialized art form, and like any art, it comes at a premium. And then there's the quirks. Plumbing that needs full replacement because it was installed before PVC was even around. Electric wiring that's more of a history lesson than code compliant. Moisture issues, because remember, these homes were built before natural AC in a climate that can feel like a tropical greenhouse in August. And yes, sometimes termites. In Charleston, we joke that you don't avoid termites, you just learn to manage the relationship. This is why owning a historic home here is less about set it and forget it, and more about ongoing conversation with your house. But here's where the magic comes in. Every repair, every restoration, every coat of fresh paint is another page in the story of your home. You're not erasing its history, you're adding to it. One client of mine bought an 1820s home that needed everything. Instead of rushing the work, they decided to do it room by room. Over the years, they uncovered old newspapers stuffed in the walls as insulation, hand-signed carpentry marks from the original builder, and even a child's marble wedged between floors. Those are the kinds of surprises you never find in new construction. There's also a built-in community among historic homeowners here. You'll swap contractor recommendations over coffee at Second State and attend Preservation Society events where everyone's just as obsessed with the old crown molding as you are. Financially, there's another upside. Well-maintained historic homes in Charleston tend to hold their value exceptionally well. There's a limited supply. You can't build more 1800s built homes. So demand stays very strong, especially from buyers who want authenticity over imitation. Mistake number 6. People don't expect weather to shut down the city. If you've lived in a northern city, Charleston's approach to weather might make you smile the first time you experience it. A hurricane hundreds of miles away? We're already making plans to shut down. Snow could possibly be in the forecast, even just a half inch. Schools are closing and grocery shelves are emptying of bread, milk, and the neighbors are swapping storm prep tips like it's game day. From the outside, it can seem overly cautious. But here's the thing, living in a coastal city teaches you to respect the weather. In Charleston, conditions can change fast. A clear morning can turn into an afternoon with strong winds, heavy rain, and high tides that put water where it doesn't belong. Hurricanes are one big part. Even if the track shows them spinning a couple hundred miles offshore, we still prepare. That means boarding up windows, bringing in patio furniture, topping off the gas tank, and making sure the generator works. For newcomers, it's a little surreal the first time you experience the hurricane mode. You'll see hardware store parking lots full, lines at the gas station, and people heading home early from work to secure their property. And while it is serious work, it has an undercurrent in the community. Neighbors help each other lift heavy items, share sandbags, and check in on everyone who might need extra help. What about snow? Most people think it doesn't snow in Charleston. Well, every now and then it does. And when it does, Charleston's not prepared because we don't have salt trucks, snow plows, and we don't have really any experience about how to drive on snow and ice. So instead of risking it, the city simply says, let's take a couple of days off. I remember one winter when I got 2 inches of snow and the entire city shut down for a week. Kids were out just this past winter. It snowed 3 or 4 inches and Charleston shut down for an entire week. We didn't have any sleds, but since the kids didn't have school and we didn't have work, we took the fins off one of our surfboards and we pushed our kids down the hill behind our house over and over and over. And when it's not snowing and there isn't a hurricane, there are thunderstorms. Most of the time they're brief, maybe 20 to 30 minutes of rain and thunder. But sometimes they can be more severe. And if it's an especially windy storm, they might shut down school for that day because the bridges can become dangerous. This can throw a wrench in your workday if you're not used to it. But Charleston parents quickly learn to have a plan B. Maybe it's calling in a favor from a neighbor or taking the opportunity to knock off early and spend the afternoon with your kids. But here's the thing nobody tells you. These weather shutdowns often turn into your most memorable days of the year. Hurricane maybes that never materialize become like impromptu neighborhood cookouts. Power outages lead to candlelit dinners and board games. Snow days, even though they are rare, are full of the most fun days that you'll ever have in Charleston. When the city shuts down and businesses are closed and the streets are quiet, you don't spend the time inside watching TV. You typically are spending it with friends, with family, getting outside and enjoying yourself. So not every weather day is fun. Sometimes the storms can do real damage, but most of the time you're going to enjoy yourself. Make sure you prepare for your hurricanes. Make sure you understand what kind of hurricane rating the glass has on the house that you buy. If you need hurricane shutters, make sure you know the evacuation route. I wouldn't try to stick out a big hurricane. Now, the last time we had one was 1989. It was Hurricane Hugo. But we've had plenty of scares since then. The best thing to do is to be prepared. Decide that if a big storm is expected to come and the city officials tell you that you should leave, go take a vacation. Here's the upside. Weather shutdowns in Charleston remind you that life isn't meant to be lived about work and grinding all the time. They're a built-in reminder to slow down, take a breath, and spend time with people and places that matter to you. Okay, now there are a few additional mistakes that people just don't know about before they move here. Now, I know we've talked about the big things that people think are downsides, like heat, traffic, flooding, cost of housing, historic home maintenance, and some weather delays. The first of these little mistakes is buying a big house far outside the city. Now, this is understandable. You start your house hunting and you realize you can get a way bigger house for your money in the suburbs. Like a 3,000 square foot home in Somerville or Goose Creek might cost the same as a 1,500 square foot home downtown. But there's a trade-off, and that's the commute. Those first few weeks, it feels manageable. You crank up the playlist, you put on your favorite podcast, and you enjoy the drive. But after a few months, 2 hours a day in the car starts to feel less than ideal. So here's the flip side. Those drives give you something that you can enjoy. Time to listen to audiobooks, to catch up with your family, to call your mom, to call your dad, or to just be alone with your thoughts. And for some people, the bigger home in the suburbs does feel worth it. They get a backyard for the kids, space for a garden, and maybe even a home office where they get to commute and work from home some days. The key is to know yourself. You might find the suburbs like Somerville or Goose Creek or Hanahan is going to be the right thing for you. All right, here's the next little mistake. Sometimes you want a big yard, but you don't actually want to take care of it. In Charleston, grass grows very rapidly March through October. You may have to mow your yard every single week, sometimes even more. It's hot, it's humid, and your grass loves that. But I found some clients typically enjoy not having to maintain the lawn as much as they get into retirement years. So if you're somebody that's always had a big yard, but you're getting to the point where maybe you want a little bit more of a turnkey lifestyle, you might consider a house that has a smaller yard or think about condo living. So if you love yard work, by all means, get a big yard. But I have seen people moving to Charleston in retirement years wishing that they had a little bit less yard to take care of. And we certainly have neighborhoods like Ion and places downtown where your yard work is very minimal. All right, the third mini mistake, choosing a 2-story home when you're not thinking ahead. Charleston has plenty of gorgeous 2-story homes, often upstairs masters But sometimes when we're getting into our retirement age, we're not thinking that we aren't going to want to do stairs like we used to. I've had clients who adored their two-story homes in their 40s and then buy those same two-story homes in their 60s, only to put them on the market a few years later. So if you love having a two-story home, make sure your master's down if you're in that retirement age window. All right, the fourth mini mistake, being surprised by wildlife here in Charleston. If you've ever lived near the coast, our wildlife can be surprising. Neighborhood ponds can sometimes have alligators. The harbor is home to dolphins and jellyfish. Sometimes there are actually sharks. So if you're not used to these animals, that can be something that can take you by surprise. Now, wildlife attacks are rare, but it's something that you should be aware of. Charleston does have alligators and sharks and jellyfish and stingrays. So just be mindful and make sure you're keeping yourself and your family safe. Mistake number 5, only visiting Charleston during the spring and fall and then deciding to move here. Spring and fall in Charleston are perfection. Summer days, comfortable temps, light breezes, blooming flowers, golden sunsets. If you visit during these seasons, it's easy to think I could live here forever. And like for me, I definitely know I could live here forever. But know that the summer is hot. Remember mistake number 1. The summer is hotter than you might even anticipate. The upside of living here is year-round experience of getting outside. The warm summer nights and the cicadas chirping can be really pleasant nights. But just know, if you're coming here, visit in the summer so that you really know what you're getting into. So here's what I've learned after years of helping people move here. Every so-called mistake is just a stepping stone to finding your Charleston. Maybe you move too far out at first and then decide to relocate closer into town later on. The quirks of Charleston aren't obstacles, they're invitations. To slow down, to notice the tide schedule, to greet your neighbors, and to appreciate the scent of the salt air after a storm. So after hearing all these mistakes, you might wonder if moving to Charleston is worth it to you. Let me tell you, it absolutely is for the right people. It is for me and my family and for the 5,000 families that I've helped move to Charleston. Charleston is an amazing place. That's why despite everything I've shared, most of the locals wouldn't live anywhere else in the world. This city is beautiful and the charm outweighs the occasional flooding or the sweltering summer day. If you're thinking about moving to Charleston, don't do it alone. Feel free to reach out to me at sales@mattoneilteam.com. I've helped thousands of families make this move smoothly, and I'd love to help you avoid the pitfalls so that you have a perfect Charleston move as well. Now that you know what to watch out for when moving to Charleston, you're probably wondering, where should you live here in Charleston? Well, I have the perfect video right here, where I rank the top Charleston neighborhoods from worst to best. So we'll see you on the next video.